Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for checking out the GoSquared webinar today. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're watching from. So just a little bit of housekeeping up front. The webinar should take about 25 minutes in total, maybe a little bit longer. There'll be room for Q&A at the end. Because sometimes there's a bit of a lag with the video, feel free just to drop chat in as we go along and ask your questions in the chat widget below. I won't be able to monitor them as we go, but I'll be able to pick them up at the end. But as I say, there's a bit of a lag, so if you have anything, please drop them in, and then I could be able to pick them up at the end. But I'll give you a little reminder as we get towards the end of the webinar. This webinar will assume that you're set up effectively, pretty much ready to go, so that you've got our JavaScript snippet installed and also our identify method. And that's going to be the thing that allows you to track down to individual user level. Again, if you haven't got this stuff set up yet, you can check out our resources at www.gosquared.com/docs. Or likewise, just drop a note in the chat and I'm happy to help you out when we're done to get you all set up. There'll be three areas that we're going to focus on today. Primarily, we're going to focus on how you can use GoSquared to turn your site's visitors into signups, how you can convert those signups into paying customers, and finally, how you can delight your customers or your paying customers with exceptional support through GoSquared. And I'm going to take a bit of time today to focus a bit more on integrations and third-party integrations. They're a really, really good way to be a lot more efficient, free up a lot of resource, and hopefully let you focus on what you do best during the day. So let me start by sharing my screen. And I will share. I'll across to everyone. And apologies for this Twilight Zone stuff. Cool. So right now I'm just in my demo app. I've got a little demo app. So we'll be able to kind of take you through a bit of a user journey, really. So I'm going to start by focusing really on how GoSquared can help turn your site's visitors into signups. And I think everyone will know and hopefully agree, it takes a lot of work just to get visitors to your site in the first place. So really when they get there, give them the opportunity to engage with you at the first opportunity that they can. One of the easiest ways that they can do that is through live chat. So when you have our JavaScript snippet installed, right away you'll be able to add one of our live chat widgets to your site. Undoubtedly, this is one of the best ways to turn visitors into signups. This effectively lets your users and ask you questions or gives them the opportunity to engage with you in real time. So really they have an outlet to ask any of these questions and let you address them before they leave the site. So if we click into the chat widget, you'll be able to see that they've got the ability to start a conversation with you right away. So if we type hello and enter, then we'll jump into GoSquared. So we jump into GoSquared right away if we click into Inbox. So Inbox is going to be our centralized platform for all of our user communications. So you'll see that we've had an anonymous conversation started, and that's quite important because what it shows is that GoSquared starts to track a user as soon as they land on your site, whether or not they've signed in or not. So we can jump into the middle panel here and respond, obviously. Hello, how can we help? Now that will get delivered back to our user. And then on the left-hand side here, just to give you a bit of an overview, these will be all of your live conversations. You have the ability to archive them. And then you'll be able to have a view on the right-hand side and click into their profile and see a lot more information about the user. So in this case, we're able to see where that user originated from. So I've just typed the address into the browser, but also you'll be able to see the specific page that user's on in real time. So if we jump back to our demo app really quickly, one of the things you'll probably notice is that at no point did we ask for any information from that user to start a conversation with us. And we do that intentionally, really. We basically wanted to create the least amount of friction for users to engage with you through our live chat so that they have the ability to start the conversation as easy as possible. But what you will see is that after they have started the conversation, we have a little pop-up here, and this will allow them to enter an email address in. if they wish to do so. So let's do that now. I'll use james@GoSquared.com. And once they submit that, when we go back to our inbox, you'll see that it stitches that email address with that user. And what's really nice about that is obviously now you've got a better feel for who that user is. And if you want to respond to them, you can do so. But we've also just released a brand new feature that if this user goes on offline, you can see in the top right-hand corner now that James is online. He's got a green circle next to him. If he goes online, we can actually reply to him via email as well. And then if we jump into profile here, what's really nice, and one of the really good things about GoSquared is that once we get that email, we're able to effectively grab all of the social information that is associated with that email address about that person. So you see on the left-hand side here, now we have all of James's social links, so we can click through and learn a lot more about them. And that's one of the kind of nice things about our chat tool is that you're actually having conversations with people now. You know a lot more about them. Say, for example, you know that they're a developer, you can have a much more technical focused conversation with them, or if they're a marketeer or a marketer, you can have a conversation that's a lot more focused towards that type of job role. So really helpful, useful information. So all of these actions that we track about users, whether that be anonymous or logged in, are aggregated in real time. So if we jump into our Now dashboard, you'll be able to see effectively any of our user data that we've been able to collect from our anonymous users. So as we go through, I'm just going to pause here for a second. I'm not sure if there's a bit of a lag or delay with the Wi-Fi, but this is really, this dashboard is where we're able to take a step back and get a better steer as to what brought that user to our site. So we can start to look at things like, obviously, the number of users online and plot that quite nicely in a timeline. But also, we've got a really nice sources widget that will be able to track the specific sites, the search engines, and any social channels that have directed traffic to your site. So actually, when we look at social, we can drill down even further, and we have a really nice Twitter integration that if you just enter your brand name in there or any keyword you want to search for, it will update any tweets in real time that people are mentioning about your brand. So it's just a really nice way to be able to, as I say, take a step back and see what key areas are driving traffic to your site. So if we click into our trends dashboard, again, this is an area that we can take a step back and see the key data that's driving traffic to our site, but we can extend it over longer periods of time. So you see in the top right-hand corner, we can toggle through days, weeks, months, and years. And all of the real-time data that we've been able to collect and aggregate about your users will be reflected in real time. So it's in trends, we're actually able to give you information up to the hour, hence the drop-off point here. One of the really nice things about trends, though, is it also will give you an estimate as to kind of how you're pacing for that period of time. So for the day, are you going to be up or down for page views or total visitors, visits, page views per visit, or engage time per visit? And this is something, again, that's just quite nice about GoSquared. Some other analytics providers might not potentially have this information. Others that do, it takes a little bit of setup. Just a nice thing really is that it's just there for you out of the box with GoSquared. And then if we toggle through, another nice thing that will be quite nice to show you is when we look at our source widget in trends, we can, let me pick something a bit longer. If we drill down into our social tab and click Twitter, we'll be able to see the specific tweets that have driven traffic our way and the amount of users that it's sent our way. So it's a really nice way if you do any kind of social marketing or push social content out to drive traffic to your site to see what's resonating with users and also any kind of social advocates you have out there that are pushing traffic your way so you can engage with them. So there's other things you might want to pick out of GoSquared that you can, of trends that you can view to help identify what type of traffic or how optimized your website is for converting visitors into signups. So you can have a look at how many pages visitors are viewing when they're on your site. For example, are they viewing your pricing page on their initial session? If not, perhaps you could include more pricing details on your homepage. And so there's just a few examples of how you can take a step back with GoSquared, look at your now and trends dashboard to help convert visitors to signups. So that's the first point I really want to look at. Next, I wanted to look at how we can use GoSquared to convert signups or prospects into customers. So let's jump back to our demo site, and we will say, okay, great, I like what I've heard, so I'm going to sign up for your service. So again, we'll use James at GoSquared. We'll sign up with a password, if I can get it right. Okay, we'll try it again. It should be fine. Perfect. And so when we jump back into GoSquared now, you'll see if we jump into people, we've created a profile for James. So like how Inbox was our centralized platform for all of our user communications, People is our centralized platform for all of our user data. One of the things you'll see really importantly that from the time that James was an anonymous user to the time that he's an identified user now, we stitched all of that information together. So both the browsing history, but if we jump into chat, hopefully it should show that we've also got all the chat history as well from before James was a signed up user. So again, really good way to identify the steps that users are taking on your site before and to the point that they become a signed up user. Also, when we're in James's profile, if we click on the right-hand side here, we'll be able to see a few things about him, those being properties and events. So out of the box, we track two key categories of things about your users. And they would be properties, which are specific attributes about your user. So examples of those things would be like their name, for example, or the time that they spent on your site. And then we also track things like events. So these would be the specific actions that users are taking on your site. So they might viewed a specific page, or they might have clicked a specific button. And you've got the ability with both of these categories to add your own custom elements to them as well. So that could be anything that would be relevant to you. It could be, for example, listen to a song on our demo site, for example. But effectively, when you have all of that data in place, then what's actually really useful is you're able to start segmenting your users. So if we jump into people here, you'll see I've got all of my data or demo data about my potential users. And once we have this data in place, we can start to add filters and segment our users down based on similar properties or events. So a nice use case of how we might want to use this is to look at where our high value users or users of our demo pro plan are originating from. So we can look at that really quickly by building a filter and saying, okay, I want to look at anyone that's on my plan, and the plan name is going to contain pro. So I get all of my pro users. And then what I can do is, with this little gear widget here, is add additional columns to our user data. And what I want to know is where the users are coming from specifically. So if I click that and I scroll across, I can see the majority of our pro plan users are coming via Twitter or Facebook. So what I can do now is set up a smart group and do that by adding a filter and say, okay, what I want to identify is anytime a new user signs up and their source URL contains Facebook, and we can use a nice OR filter here as well. So filter, and we say original source URL would contain Twitter as well. So we just cast the net a bit wider. And then we can say, let's save this as potential high value users. Great. Now we've got this smart group in place. The reason we call it a smart group is because as soon as a new user signs up that matches this filter, so in this case would have originated from either Facebook or Twitter, they'll automatically be added to this group because we're still fueling everything with all of these real-time analytics. And Likewise, for any reason, probably not that relevant in this case, but if a user no longer matched that filter and exited that group, we'll remove them from the group in real time. So those two actions, those two events of a user entering or exiting a smart group can be used as a trigger to do something in another application. So in this case, let's say that we want to use this as a bit of a sales tool. And so when a user signs up right away, we want to be notified so we can reach out to them right away and make sure that they get set up and integrated and have any questions they have dealt with in real time. And so we'll be a bit more proactive with that. So one of the easiest ways to do this, you can do it through a variety of ways, but because you'll see down here, I pretty much live in Slack most of the time. And if you don't use Slack, it's a real-time messaging system for Teams, where effectively you can receive live messages. I'll want to get notified in Slack as soon as one of these potential high-value users get signed up. So how I would go about doing that is going to where all of our integrations live, and that will be in project settings and services. And then you'll see directly here all of the key integrations that we connect with directly. So for this example, I'm going to connect Slack. So we just have to jump into Slack and click connect. Then I'm going to click add new Slack integration. Then up the top here, you'll see set up a GoSquared integration. So it'll probably ask me to log in real quickly. Oh, I'm already logged in, so that's great. And I'm going to want to say that I'm going to create a new channel, and I'm going to call it high value users. Oops, spell that right. And then I'm going to, I could give it a name or a purpose, I should say, but let's just get one set up for time's sake. So I've got this new channel that I created, and then I just click add GoSquared integration. And it will give me a few more details of what I need to do, but all we really need to do is just copy this URL, or this hook URL, we should say. Copy that, jump back into GoSquared, paste that here, and then call it potential high value users, or whatever you'd like to call it, and click save. So now that's set up, so we're connected to Slack now, and we know that we're going to be sending specific user information to our Slack channel. Then all we need to do is set up a quick notification and just say, add a notification. We're going to, as I mentioned, we want us to be notified when the user enters the smart group. And then how do we want to deliver this message? And we want to deliver it through our Slack integration, add. So great, as soon as that's done, we're ready to go. So now whenever a new user signs up that came from either Facebook or Twitter, I'm going to be notified instantly via Slack. And then I could potentially just click through and start a live chat conversation with that user right away. So we can look at another scenario to explore another integration, and that would be that potentially we want to reach out to these users, but we want to do so earlier and in the instance that they might not log in. So what I'm saying there is we might not be able to start a live chat conversation with them. So we could do that through email. So what we have to do is go back to our services or our integrations tab, and we'll use, for example, we'll use Drip, because we use that quite a bit ourselves. And Drip is a really nice, easy to use email automation software that connects with this quite seamlessly. So we click connect, and we click connect to Drip. It should ask us to authorize and potentially log in. In this case, we're already logged in again. And then we're going to jump into Drip, I should say, which is drip.co. And I should be logged in, but it might ask me to log in again. Yeah, here we go. So we'll log in. And the Wi-Fi is just a little bit slower here. So as it logs in, then what we want to do is jump into automation in Drip. We'll want to set up, we'll click rules, because I'm going to want to set up a new rule, and I'll set up a new basic rule. That goes through. So again, as I mentioned, when we're looking at integrations, all we need to do is just identify what the trigger is going to be and what action we want it to perform. So in this case, we're going to choose the trigger, and with Drip, we want to select that a user has performed an action in another application. And we'll say GoSquared. If you have other integrations that will pop up there. Likewise, as soon as they enter a smart group, we want that to act as the trigger, but we have to give it the smart group name. So one of the really easy ways to do this and just make sure you've got the correct name is to jump back into here and make sure you name it correctly. So potential high value users is our group name. Bear with me. High value users. Apologies for the spelling. Great. Okay, so we've identified what group and what the trigger is going to be. And then we click action. In this instance, we could do a lot of things. We could add them to a campaign that we've built that's going to trigger a specific workflow. But I'm just going to, for the purpose of time, just say we want to send them a one-off email. And so the email is going to come from, let's say it's going to come from Russ at GoSquared, and it's going to be thanks for signing up. And we could say what we want to do is just let them know about a few features that might be relevant to them and useful to them during their trial with our demo app. So hello, thanks for signing up. Did you know about X feature? Best regards, you get the idea. Russ. Essentially, all we'll need to do is to save that email, save that rule, and we'll be connected and ready to go. So we'll start as soon as a user matches our new smart group again. We'll automatically trigger an email to that user through Drip. So another nice use case to be able to qualify a user and get them through that trial period to help convert them into a paying customer. And another integration I just want to look at really, really quickly is through Zapier, I should say. And this is one of the real benefits of People, is it allows you to integrate with other platforms and really just free up a lot of your own resource and time to focus on what you do best. And so if we jump into a smart group, and for example, let's say most active. So we have a few smart groups that are set up out of the box for you, and you can undertake a specific action on these smart groups right away. So one of the actions could be to export to a CSV, export our users to a CSV, and then we'll have all of that data ready to go. But what if I wanted that CSV to update in real time, so I don't have to keep going and exporting all my data? What we can do through Zapier is effectively, whenever a new user matches that smart group, we can add them to a Google Sheet. So as I say, you've got a real-time spreadsheet that consistently updates with all of your user data that matches a certain smart group. So Zapier, if you don't know, is a really, really useful tool that effectively acts as a middleman between an application that provides a trigger, in our case being GoSquared, and an application that provides an action. And that could really be, they have over 500 plus, but in this case, we're going to look at Google Sheets. And it makes it as simple as possible to connect these two systems together. At GoSquared, we give you a few popular apps that you might want to set up out of the box. So the one that I mentioned, create or add a user information to a Google Sheet row whenever they match a smart group, is the top one here. So we'll use this app. And then we'll have some nice helper guides on what you need to do. All I'm going to do here for time's sake again is just click Create Zap. And then again, we just have to identify what the trigger is, click Continue, and just make sure we link our account and say, OK, let you know the account. And then we'll pick the smart group that we want, and we're going to pick most active. And we'll click OK. And then we click Fetch and Continue. And so the trigger part is now set up really nice and easy. And then if we jump into our action, in this case, again, is just create a new spreadsheet row. We'll click Continue and link it to the right account. Again, Continue. We'll pick the spreadsheet. In this case, we're just going to pick our demo worksheet. And we're going to select the specific sheet, and then we can say which row we want to add it to. I've got a preset of one just called users, and we click Continue, and create and continue, and that's it. So effectively, whenever one of our most active users or someone falls into our most active user smart group, we'll add them to a row, so we've got a constant spreadsheet that we can refer to if we'd like, of all of our most active users that we might want to reach out to with some bespoke comms at some point. So that's a really nice way that you can use GoSquared to communicate with your users during their trial period and give them all the information they need to help to become a paying customer. So the last thing that I want to look at is let's assume that our user's been extremely happy with their trial period and now they want to sign up and become a paying customer. And so I want to look at how you can use GoSquared to delight your customers, and really it's through exceptional support. So really, if a customer ever has an issue, the majority of times they're going to want it resolved as quickly as possible. So you could have a support email address, or you could have a support ticketing system, but nothing really gives users more peace of mind than someone personally telling them that they're looking into it. So it doesn't mean you have to resolve their issue then and there, but just having the ability to immediately set expectations will give your customers much more peace of mind and really allow you just to take control of the situation. So if I jump into chat again, and let's just say James is, hi, I'm having a few issues with feature X. So we can jump back into our inbox again, and one of the really nice things about inbox is it's a shared inbox. So you can have as many agents that you'd like monitoring any issues that come through. So let's jump back and say, no problem, James, help out. And then what we can do is add a note and just let our team know, hi, I'm looking into this one. Russ, click save, and then if I jump back in, just so obviously that note's not going to appear in our chat widget. So that's just a really nice way that we can kind of preemptively address any issues that a customer might have and let them know that, and give them an outlet to communicate with them throughout that process. But we can also be a bit more proactive with users to keep them engaged and feel kind of valued as they become paying customers. And one of the really nice ways to do this is just for ask for their feedback or ask for their opinion on the key features that they're using. So if we jump back into people, what I'm going to do is build a smart group. And what I want to find is any of our users that have, let's say, used a new feature. So I've got a custom event set up, and let's just say more than 0 times. So anyone that's ever used our new feature, I can save the smart group, new feature users, smart group. Then what I can do is send a message out to all of these users through what we call a broadcast. So you can send a broadcast message, compose one message that's going to be delivered to all of the users that have this common attribute about them or have performed this custom event, and say, hi, now if you find our new feature. Would be great to get your feedback. And that's one of the really nice ways that you can make use of broadcast. If you click preview, you'll see the message that you're going to be able to send, and then you can send it through. But just asking your users and allowing them to give you feedback proactively when they've used a new feature is a really nice way to obviously make them feel valued, but get some really useful insight as well on how you continue to shape and build your products. And then probably the last thing to do is be a bit proactive. And in the instance, in our first instance, where James got in touch with us to tell us about a potential issue with one of our features, not everyone might do that. And so we can build a smart group of people that potentially look like they may churn or they may leave our service and haven't taken the opportunity to communicate with us. So how we go about doing that is, let's look at our paying customers. So in this case, the easiest way to do that is just say that they're on our Pro plan. And let's say that we haven't seen them. Oh, hang on. And last seen, let's say, this will vary for any other type of application or software, but let's say that they haven't logged in for more than a month. So we'll get a list of users now that we know, so we can call these people We'll save a new smart group and call these people potential quick save. And now we know these users haven't logged in over a month, and so there could be a chance that there's issues that might be there, or issues that we can proactively address. And so what we can do now is use any of the integrations that we've already set up. We could either have these people added to a spreadsheet, so we could monitor the amount of people that are continuously looking likely to churn, or we could use our drip integration to send them a one-off email to make sure that they're still happy and that there isn't anything that they're unhappy with. And it's just another nice way to be able to effectively monitor churn and hopefully delight your customers with exceptional support. So if you have any questions as we've went along and you haven't asked them yet, feel free to drop them into the chat. But hopefully over the course of the past 20 minutes or so, you've been able to see how you can use GoSquared to help turn your site's visitors into signups, convert new prospects into customers, delight your customers through exceptional support, and really how you can use a lot of our integrations to help automate a lot of your processes and save yourself a lot of time. So I will slowly move back over to our inbox so I can see if there have been any questions. And if for any reason you haven't had a chance, you can always drop me an email at russell@gosquared.com. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second here. I'll just turn the camera off so we can jump back into our screen. Bear with me 1 second. And keep feeling free to fire questions through. 1 second as I just check our inbox. And I'm not sure that anything has come through specifically, but cool. Like I said, if for any reason there is a bit of a lag and the broadcast ends before you get the opportunity to ask a question, you can drop it in inbox and we'll be around, as we always are for the majority of the day, and feel free to drop me an email as well. Cool. Thanks again for taking the time to watch the webinar, and I hope it's been useful for you. Thanks again.